Well, let's just say I'll go to the drums that I use. So in these drums, you might have drums set up like this where it's like clap, kick, hi-hat, all of this type stuff, right? And when you open it up, you know, it might be named in such a way, right? Now, if you was to do that, then you're just going to get all kicks. So we don't want all kicks. So what I did was I just put a number into the search area, right? So you could put 1, and then anything that has 1 will go to flat. And anything that has a 1, it will appear right there. So that's going to be all types of things, right? That's going to be kicks. That's going to be percussion. It's going to be all types of sounds, okay? And then what you can do in order to kind of splice this up is you can set this to a different date. You can set this to a different author, whatever you have that you can use. Maybe even length. You can set it to different lengths, and that's going to mix up those drums. And it's very like, you know, you could go through and find the things that you really want. Ryan, what's up, Ryan? It's good to see you. You can find specific sounds that you want to use, or you can just set something up kind of like what I'm saying, which is, you know, just kind of pulling some stuff in. So I'm going to choose about 80 of these. I'm going to come through. I'm going to choose about 80. So I have a mixture of kicks, toms, perk, hi-hats, all kind of stuff. I'm just going to highlight that and drag it over into the NNXT. And now you'll see I have a bunch of sounds loaded into the NNXT. I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to hit auto map. Let me see, move my face out the way. Auto map zones chromatically. And when you do that, that's going to put a sample on each of those keys, right? So now I can say, and we just got a ton of samples that we can use in order to create. So like in order to create our tracks and our drums and things of that nature, right? So I used 1 already. What I'm going to do right now, I'm going to hit cancel, go back to our drums, and instead of 1, I'm going to hit 2. So I'll hit 2 on the search pad. It's going to pull up all the 2s, right? And I'm just going to select 1, and I'll choose about maybe 80 of them or so. I'll choose about 80. I could come in here and make sure this is a new one. Okay, cool. That's not the one we want. We could delete this, and we could just drag and drop this in, automatic, chromatically, boom. Now we just have a bunch of new drums that we haven't used yet. I can even save this as drums. I think this was my contact library, contact drums 2. I'll save that here. And now I got a folder, a patch that I can use of all of these different kinds of sounds ready to go. Now, what's really cool about it is I can use Reason's players to take this to the next level. I can use any of the players that are there in order to start making some drums. Of course, we have drum sequencer specifically, polystep sequencer, and also the other thing I would look at would be like beat map. Beat map just will require you to kind of do some fine tuning. But let's say, for example, if I chose, where's the one that I like? Let's say we chose this guy and we hit play. So it's already got a little pattern that's happening there. Okay, I'm gonna go to 1/8. So what we could do is actually go in and say, okay, we want this to be our kick. You know, you change the value and it will change the kick and the hi-hats. Let's choose a different kick. So I'm just cycling through until I find a kick that I like, you know. I just cycle through until I find a kick that I like. Oh, I remember there is a way that you could do this actually. What you could do is you could find the kick that you like, and then you could hit learn, and then you could just select it like that rather than go searching through it. And oh, that's what that sound is. Here's the power of the NNXT. Just changing the release of all of those sounds at once. And the reason why I chose Beatmap as a player is because it just has these built-in patterns that you can choose from. There's one pattern that's already there, and then if we want, we can just choose a different XY coordinate. Now we got a totally different pattern, right? So definitely if we want to go with some random notes, we go with like what Ryan is talking about, using the quad note generator, because you can get that, you know what I'm saying, some randomosity happening there. It's a little more technical for my setup, you know what I'm saying, but I'll definitely, you know, let Ryan explain that one day. But basically you would just use quad note generator and the random tool in order for you to get some juicy randomness there with that guy. But that is essentially how you can use, you know, some random drum sounds or samples that you have. And you can take that, you know, to the next level. You can use all kinds of things like maybe vocal sounds. It's just an old school way of using that NNXT, you know, because it has that power of loading up so many samples. So you can just have all those samples loaded. Now, I know what somebody's going to say. They're going to say, well, Chris, what about when it comes time for mixing? Or what about when it comes time for separating these drums and these sounds? And, you know, what you could do, of course, is duplicate and then explode your MIDI file. You can duplicate this a bunch of times, explode your MIDI file, or you can get into finding these specific sounds that you're using, and you would just need to set them to a certain output over here. And then when you set them to that output, you can switch this, flip this rack, and then you can set that output. You can get a new mixer channel like that. So that's how you could separate them from the NNXT. A little easier to do in other places, but man, it's definitely something worth trying or something checking out. And yeah, once you have your kick drum and things, everything set up, you can very easily, you know, go through and find different sounds that you really like. Now, what I did for this track that we have here is I just played this manually. You know, these are my MIDI notes or whatever that I just played manually, and I just recorded them. So I'll give you guys another listen of what we did with this track. And just having access to so many percussion instruments and sounds and sound samples, not having to go back and, oh, let me, search for a new sound or go into the browser, but it's just right there, right? So it's just like, oh, cool, I want to add that in too. Like, where did that come from? Like, what is that sound? Oh, I'll show you another trick I was doing as well. So here's another trick that I was doing as well. Let's say you find something that you really like. You find a drum sample or a sound effects that you really like this one. What you can do is you can just record that by itself. Right, so now that's recorded in by itself. I'll quantize, and then you could just right click and hit bounce in place. All right, you're gonna hear some garbled sounds, but once you bounce that in place, then you can just move that somewhere by itself. It doesn't have to be in the NNXT at all. For that matter, you could just explode. This is what I mean by explode. I'll show you what I mean by explode right now. You could just take your MIDI clip, right click it, and then you go to extract notes to lanes, and they will have this option here that says explode. Let me zoom in so you can see it. So explode all notes into separate lanes. You hit move, and now you have all of these separate note lanes, right? And then what you could do with that is you can bounce these individually. You can bounce them in place individually, and then that will give you waveforms that you can work with right there. Just, using that feature right there, you can have all of those to work with as well. So just showing different ways that you never have to really be limited by anything. So you could use the NNXT to create those patterns, and you still have an opportunity to be able to mix and things like that. Like, you don't have to be stuck. Now, back in the day, I was talking about this in another video that I made. Back in the day when I was using NNXT, I would just end up exporting the whole drum loop like just as one loop, right? And then now you got to work with like multi-band compressors, or you got to work with like, quad EQs, or you got to work with all these different things to try to tune out the snare and quad compressor. Okay, I need to compress the snare, but let the kick drum through, and you just end up having to work harder, when it comes to the mix, because the drum loop is all together. But now, with a little bit more foresight and a little bit more knowledge, there's tons of ways that you can separate things and be able to mix and everything like that. Okay, so that's that track, man. And those are some different tips and things that you could do when it comes to that. Cool. Yeah.